So I'm a manager in a call center, no office dress, work polo tops are available, but really anything goes: shirts, leggings, jeans, caps, shorts. The issues that can pop up in the summer are girls wearing denim shorts deemed too short, tops too short, and senior management saying too much skin is on show. However, my story is around a girl Carly I had in my team. October in Scotland, the cold is here, so it's more winter wear. She has on black leggings, denim shorts over, and Ugg boots. Perfectly fine in my opinion, no skin on show. My manager said the shorts were too short, but I tried to argue the leggings covered her, so in no way inappropriate. As usual, management win, so I had to tell her the shorts were too short, but I reminded her legging were fine. Planting the malicious compliance seed. She know what to do, so stood up, made a scene, announced the shorts were too short, but she could fix it. She stood in front of everyone, undid her shorts, pulled them down in her version of a stripper on stage, took them off, folded them and put them in her bag, sat down and took another call. This made my day. The look on my manager's face was priceless. I reminded her it was exactly what she had asked for, but clearly she thought Carly would have did this in the bathroom. A little backstory. This happened years ago, while I was working in retail. I had been at this place for 3 years, was cross-trained in every department, had never had a sick day, and was always available to cover shifts when they called me. The important thing to say is that we were also unionized. I would soon be getting married and moving across the country, so being the good employee I was, I gave my store manager my termination notice a month before my last day instead of just 2 weeks, so he would have plenty of time to hire someone new. Here is the good part. A few days after I turned in my notice, I broke my foot in an act of stupidity. 3 avulsion fractures. They couldn't cast it. Doctor gave me some pain meds and a note saying I could continue to work as a cashier as long as I had a stool or something, so I could help keep the weight off my foot. The next day I grabbed my cane and walked to work with my note. I explained the situation to my supervisor and union rep, and they pulled a bar stool from the furniture section and put it in my cash booth. I spent the day working without a problem. The next day my store manager sees me sitting on the stool and calls me into his office. I go in, and he wants to know why I have a stool. The conversation goes roughly as follows. Manager: why are sitting down while on shift? Me: because I broke my foot and the doctor says I cannot be standing on it all day. I have the note and the union's approval. Manager looks over the note and notices the cane beside my chair. Manager: I can't let you keep the stool. If I did, we would have to make accommodations for everyone who got injured outside of working hours. Plus it doesn't look professional to have you sitting at the front of the store. Now I know he isn't allowed to do that, and that I could have taken this up with the union and won the case, but with only 3 weeks left with the company I would be lucky to have it resolved before I left. So I get a bright idea. Me: okay, I will make you a deal. Instead of bringing this to the union, I will give up the stool, but in return you need to make sure that every shift I work from now on is as the garden center cashier. My manager quickly agrees and thanks me for being understanding. He walks with me out to the garden center and explains to the current cashier that I will be taking over for the rest of the month. Now, being unionized is not always a great thing, but if you know the rules you can get away with a lot without being fired. With my union, the key was to do exactly what was in your job description, so long as it didn't put you, your coworkers or the company at risk. Since most of us liked our jobs and respected the store's owner, not the manager, we always went above and beyond. But I was on my way out, and after my talk with manager I no longer cared. A few days later manager comes out to let the supervisor know that a shipment of flowers will be arriving sometime today. He apparently decided to check up on me and was completely speechless when he saw me. There I was sitting on my register's counter, reading a book. Manager: what on earth are you doing? Me: waiting for the next customer to come up while taking the weight off my foot. Why? Manager: you know I could fire you for doing this, right? Me: my job is to be a cashier, which I'm doing. Whenever someone comes up, there are no additional duties like cleaning or stocking for the garden center cashier. So between customers I'm talking the weight off my foot as per my doctor's note, minus the stool of course. Manager: I could still fire you for eating on the sales floor. Me: please do. Since I have never received a warning or been written up, that would mean you were firing me for a first offense, which is not sufficient cause for the union. That would mean you would owe me 5 weeks severance, my unclaimed vacation time, and the pay I would miss between now and my final day. Now you could also spend the next 2 weeks trying to catch me reading. That way you could issue me the required 3 warnings, followed by the required 3 write-ups. But that would eat up a lot of your time, and I'm pretty sure I could have someone inside call to warn me if they see you coming this way. At this point, a man with a cart full of bags of dirt starts heading my way, and I hop off the register onto my good foot and hop around the register so I can serve him. Manager never came to see me again. When I was young, I really enjoyed reading, still do. The municipal library had a section for underage readers, books for children and young readers up to 16, and a separate one for adults, not restricted to adult books, but everything not especially written for children. The usual division was you get a yellow library pass for the children's section or a grey one for the adult section, which included access to the children's section, with separate entrances for the sections. My biggest problem was I was rather grown up at an early age. So I started reading at 4, read books intended for age 10 to 13 at age 8 and so on, and I was only allowed to take 6 books from the library at any one time, so I had to return to get new ones several times a week, reading only an hour in the evening, just before going to bed. I really hated this situation, because I knew the adult section had bigger books, more pages, less pictures. Imagine SAINT number 5 from Short Circuit, Need Input, which I wasn't allowed to take yet. When I asked about access to the adult section at age 12, the head librarian told me I'd have to wait until I was 16. 4 long years, and when I whined about children's books being boring and too short, she said I could only have access to the adult section once I'd read all the books in the children's section, which she didn't believe anybody had ever done. Can't make any exceptions as all the librarians were so busy, understaffed. Cue malicious compliance. A few days later, on the first day of our 6 weeks summer holidays from school, I started reading. Not for fun, but with a goal in mind. Leaving aside all the books I'd read already, everything even remotely interesting, maybe 3,000 to 4,000 books. There were only about 1,500 books in the children's section I hadn't read yet, and at an average of maybe 50 pages, they were easy to finish within a few minutes each. 4. Comparison. The last Harry Potter book took me approximate 5 hours to read. So my days were structured, like go to the library, get 6 books, go outside to a bench in the park, read 6 books, return 6 books, repeat until closing time. My turnaround time after leaving the library was between 5 and 60 minutes, depending on the books. Obviously, baby books were like 30 seconds each. What came from this? I discovered science fiction, which I still love, and learned to detest shallow romance novels. I read lots of books, and the librarians got to know me quite well, because they had to register the books to my account. Back then done with a numbered paper slip ripped off the back of my library card. 1 block of those with 100 slips had to be replaced at least every second day. Register them again as returned. Sort them into the racks again. So I caused quite a lot of work for them, to the extent of basically occupying one of them exclusively. Still, they were really helpful, given we shared the love of books and reading, and some of them actively assisted by keeping a pile of books ready at the counter to make my turnaround even quicker. Maybe they wanted to stick it to the head librarian. Took me nearly 4 weeks of reading, honing my skills, and then the day came. I returned the last books, some teenager romance novel with lots of horses, absolutely not what I wanted to read, and asked for my adult library card. The head librarian couldn't believe it, went to check my file, and was met by absolute outrage by the children's library librarians who had witnessed what I had done. She nearly choked when she filled in my grey card with her typewriter, but had the good grace to wish me fun with the new exciting world of the adult library. TBH, I did not repeat that with the adult library, so when I left my hometown for university, there were still thousands of volumes left unread there. Today, I make do with an unlimited ebook reading package from a big company. I simply can't afford to buy as many books as I read. I worked the vacuum cooler in an industrial bakery. I take racks of muffins out of the oven to a vacuum cooler to cool before being injected with syrupy goodness. I pass racks of muffins to the injector team, who passes racks of muffins to the packing team, who passes empty racks to be washed. We're all in one building. Towards the end of the workday, the packing team had more racks than they could handle. So much they could barely move. Injector team also had so many racks they could barely move. I decided to slow down and help packers move empty racks, so the whole place isn't cluttered with them, making it easier to pass racks from team to team. As I'm doing this, I see the manager giving me the stink eye and calls me over. Manager, why is the vacuum idle? Me, there's no room to put cooled racks without blocking the ovens. Manager, don't worry, the injector team will get rid of those racks faster than you can give them. Sure they can. Manager then takes me to the back and shows me the vacuum pump and talks about how even when the machine is idle it costs a lot of money. Gives me a warning to keep the vacuum going. Machines are on 24 hours and only turned off on Saturday. Even if I finished cooling all my stuff, the vacuum would still be idle after. I'll let the teams know what the manager said, and if there's gridlock it ain't my fault. I stop moving empty racks from packing and spend 100% of my time on vacuum. After 15 minutes, packing crew have so many empty racks they can't empty anymore. Injector crew can't pass racks to packing because the empty racks are in the way. I'm passing so many racks to injectors that ovens are now blocked. I can't empty ovens because of racks in the way. We have gridlock. Look at the time. Time to clock out. Remind the injector team it's not my fault. Wave bye to my manager as the second shift employees see the mess. Vacuum cooler is sat there idle. I work in the dispatch department of a hospital, and it is my job to receive phone calls from clerks and nurses requesting porters. I take the call, input the information, and send the info to a porter so they can proceed with a patient transfer, equipment delivery, etc. A certain department calls us incessantly asking for wheelchairs to be delivered. It doesn't matter how many wheelchairs they already have, they will always call for more. They like to hoard them and hide them away in separate rooms so that it looks like they don't have any when the porter arrives with more. In this hospital, hoarding any equipment creates delays for patient transfers because it becomes hard for porters to locate the needed equipment in areas where they are supposed to be available. This department has been getting away with this for years, and any complaint to management usually results in a temporary fix, about a week, in which we receive fewer requests for wheelchairs from said department. Anyways, on to my malicious compliance. It has been an extremely busy day and the usual clerk from the hoarder department has been calling us excessively to deliver wheelchairs and has been rude about it every time. We try to explain that we need to keep some wheelchairs on reserve for other departments, which we have explained thousands of times to them before, and she just scoffs at me and my co-workers and repeats that she needs wheelchairs because she doesn't have any. At one point, the clerk calls me in a rage and is screeching in my ear about how we still haven't delivered any wheelchairs, which we have, and we have call records to prove it, and that she needs as many as you can send us. Stat, then slams the phone in my ear. Okay, I'll send you as many as we can. I proceed to call a porter that has worked here a long time and knows the situation with the hoarder department very well. Also, he is retiring soon and has always been a guy that works around the rules, and we are all union, so we can get away with a lot. I tell him the situation and tell him very clearly that they need as many as we can send them. He chuckles and says no problem. About 30 to 45 minutes later, I get a call from hoarder department. It's not the rage lady from earlier, unfortunately, but it was still very satisfying to hear them say, "Can you please have a porter come remove some wheelchairs?" I say sure. "How many would you like removed?" She says, "I kid you not, as many as you can get out of our hallway. It's congested with wheelchairs and is a fire hazard." It's super satisfying to hear them want wheelchairs removed for once, but I figure they are exaggerating as usual, except this time the opposite of their usual request. By this point, the porter who delivered them has gone home. I call a different porter that I get along with, tell them the story, and send them up to assess the chaos and remove some wheelchairs. She calls back when she's up there and she's just laughing uncontrollably while telling me there are over 30 wheelchairs stuffed in the hoarded apartment and the connecting hallway. Apparently, the clerks were trying to push the entire collection of them out of the hallway at once because they couldn't get through the sea of wheelchairs to move them one by one. The retiring porter literally trapped them in their department with wheelchairs. Surprisingly, no one got in trouble or talked to at all. I'm not even sure my coordinator heard about the situation. Hoarded apartment is still consistent with calling for wheelchair delivery, but a little less so. The rude clerk is still rude, but she is very prompt on the phone and a little less sassy than before. I call it a win. If you enjoyed the stories, slap the like and subscribe button for more of them, and don't forget to support the original writers with an upvote. Links are in the description. Peace out, and catch you tomorrow.